Well, hi, my name is Johnny Fowler with Anchor of Grace here in Oklahoma. My email's at the bottom of the screen there. My name is Johnny Fowler, and the email is johnny.fowler at uh, anchorofgrace.org. Uh, so I'm going to go right into what we're doing today. We're going to go to lesson 2. So I'm going to my presentations, to my training. Okay, and I'm going to show you where OpenLP and what I'm doing. I am currently in OpenLP and I've clicked on presentations. I'm going to do check out OpenLP setup and bring it on the screen here. And I'll pop you up to the overhead. And on the overhead, today is OpenLP 102 for Windows 10 and 11 users. Don't blow it up. Here's a quick checkout to help get a good start on OpenLP setup. And I'll explain why in a second here. Okay, so I'm going to go to the here and it talks about checking your displays is one of the first things you do. So I'm going to do that real quick for you to show you how that's done, and I'm going to do that in OpenLP. I just will minimize OpenLP. I'll right click on my screen, say displays. Now I'm using Windows 11. Uh, the Windows 10 is slightly different. I click identify, and as you can see on my bottom left, it's showing this screen as number 1, which is the one I'm working with OpenLP. And if I click on the overhead and I click on identify, you should see number 2 in there on the overhead screen. So that tells me that what number 1 and number 2 screens are. So I then go down and Windows 11, and I want to check the advanced setup. And display 1, which is the computer I'm working from, is a 1920 by 1080. That's the important thing to look for, which is full high definition. Display number 1. And if I go and check display 2, and I've got it also set for 1920 by 1080, which is widescreen, aspect ratio 16 by 9, and it's display number 2. So that's the big settings and the things you want to look for. Okay, so I'm going to close that out. I don't need that. Bring OpenLP back up now. And you'll see that the other thing is when I first bring it up on overhead right now, you'll see that I've got my first item. I've clicked right here. Quick checkout of OpenLP. Okay, and when I started it, it displayed the Anchor Grace logo in the screen. The first time, it may take a few moments as the software tries to locate the overhead and projector screen. Anyway, you can change the logo and inside the setup to use your image, and all you really need is a 500 by 500 pixel PNG image, which you insert into a black background, which would be 1920 by 1080 pixel for a 16.9 resolution, and put that uh, Lego in the middle, and then you can use that, and I'll show you where you can insert that in your settings so that it comes up first time you bring it up. So we're going to go into how to check out OpenLP. I've got my computer down here running OpenLP, and I've got my overhead up here displaying Anchor of Grace. And so now what I want to do is go to my next one, and I want to walk you through some of the setups. We're going to visit them as a little bit. Okay, so right now what you see on the screen is the way I like to have it, and you can select show all under tools. I'm going to go over here to tools and view, under view, and I'm going to view, and then a layout, and then I come down here, and let's see here. Oh, view and show all. Oh my goodness. Huh. Layout there it is, show all. Okay, so I'm going to click on show all, and now this is all the screens that are in OpenLP. Okay, the only screens I'm going to be using, however, is the library, the live screen, which is this one up and down, and the service screen. I'm not going to be using these three screens. So I can toggle on and off views like it shows in here, and I'm going to put it back to the way I had it before, to the service as shown, and toggle on only these three, and I'm going to toggle off all the others. So I don't want the projector controller, so I hit F6 and it will go away. I don't want the themes, so I hit F10 and it goes away. I don't want the preview screen right now, so I hit F11 and it goes away. And I am back to the way I like to have it, my suggested views when you're going through this. Okay? Now, let's go back to my laptop down here and let's look at what our next view is. And this is it. So we're going to go to the very first configuration, and I'm going to take you back, and we're actually going to do a checkout of the general page in the configurations. Okay, and when I say general, as you can see, general will have a picture like that. Well, let me show you how you get that. We're going to start our settings. We're going to go up here to settings. We're going to click on it, and we'll click on configure OpenLP. This screen will pop up, and general is the first item on that screen. Now I'm going to switch to the other screen, the overhead, and from the overhead, what we would like for suggested first time settings are shown for. Application startup is right here, and only these bottom two. Show the splash screen and check for updates to OpenLP. Those two are the only one turned on. And number two is our logo. Well, here is where you can, the image you made to put your 500 by 500 pixel logo in the center of the screen, a black or white, whichever one you wanted. You could click on here and browse to where that new image is you made, and it will show up in the center. And down here, you'll see CCIL details. Well, here's where you would, if you had a CCLI contract for your songs, which you should if you're doing songs, which are on the commercial market today, and you need to give notice to these people that you're using their songs. And OpenLP server helps you maintain and keep a record of those so that you can send to them and update it. CCLI details, that's for your organization. So you notice mine's all 9, it's not giving you my number. Now, and then you've got UI settings, which I've never had to use. Double click items to send items straight to live. I have that one turned on, so that's how I double clicked it and it went straight to live. That's how I double clicked it, it went straight to live. And down here under auto scroll, enable search as you type, enable application, and alert if new clicked on blank service. If new is clicked on blank service. So I'll talk to you about how to bring up your service from a blank in future lessons, but for right now, that's the way it normally should be set up in your general. Okay, so let's go back to my laptop, and I'm going to go now over to services, which is the second one in the list. There's services, and then I'm going to go, services, and then down here I'm actually going to close it for a second. I'm going to say OK, and that was for OpenLP General. Now we're going to the next slide, and I'm going to open settings back up, and I'm going to go to services. Now I'm going to go back to my overhead, and on services I have left, and this is the first time settings shown for default service name. Okay, I would suggest leaving that in there because when you write your services, you want to be sure and have the date of the service so that you know which service to open for that date to give that service once it's been made. And I don't have any of the slide controller stuff turned on. I have a time delay when you're looping images in a loop. You may want to put a time delay in there, and the default is 5 seconds. You can increase the timing between each one of the images as it loops anywhere you want to. 5 if it's you don't have to read it a lot, and maybe 10 or 12 seconds if there's like a verse or something you want them to read as they loop through the scriptures or the writing that's on that slide. You might want to turn that one on to a little bit higher. In the service item that's wrapping, remain on the slide. This is the behavior of the previous and last slide. Remain on the slide on wrapping, and service editing is not checked. So that's what you would put in there for service. So that's normally how you would set your service up for these 4 items. Okay, I'm going to go back over to the laptop, and I'm going to close, cancel again, and I'm going to go to my next slide, which is Advanced tab, and we're going to go to Settings, and we're going to Configure, and we're going to Advanced, and then I'm going to pop to the overhead. And here we only have 2 sets. We have display workarounds and we have proxy server settings. Well, since I'm in Windows Manager, I think on Windows 10 it goes bypass X10 Windows Manager, and on Windows 11 it goes bypass Windows X11 Windows Manager. And I'm not using a proxy server, but I say use system proxy, which is the system we have here right now on my screen. And disable display of transparency. We don't really need that. So that's the way this one should be set up under Advanced. So now I am going to go back over and to my laptop. I'm going to cancel it again, and I'm going to open up the next screen, which is this one is going to be the screens, OpenLP screens display. Okay, so I go Settings, Configuration, and I go to Screens. Now, over on the right hand side, on the overhead, normally you would only have 2 screens. I happen to have 3 because I'm using a third monitor to monitor my OBS. But so you can click on Identify Screens, and I'm going to click on Identify Screens. Let me show you where it's at on the computer. See, that's Identify Screens right there. Okay, and I'm going to go back to the overhead, and when I identify the screens, you see at the top of the screen I'm on the up here, that OpenLP server has identified my overhead as screen 3. See, that's slightly different. When I'm using 3 windows as Windows 2, when what I'm trying to say is Windows has displays 1, 2, and 3, but they consider number 2 my overhead, and OpenLP is considered number 3 my overhead. Don't let that confuse you. If you only have 2 screens, your screen overhead will be screen 2, and if you look over here, when I identify screens, my primary screen is where OpenLP is at. Now, the screen that's being used as a full screen display will be the one that has a check down here at the bottom. You see that? Uses full screen display. Okay, so we've identified screens, and now we're going to look at this use screen display. So we're going to go back to the overhead, and in the overhead, we particularly have number 3 has a check, and this screen is the one that we're using for the overhead screen, and it should be set to 1920 by 1080 pixels, and you'll see what it's set to down in here, 1920 by 1080. All of them should be set that way for your full high definition screens with 2K widescreen displays. And then down at the bottom you see one that says generic screen settings. Well, sometimes when you power up your laptop and you're only in the single screen mode, you don't want it to get all confusing, so you want that one checked. display of a single screen. So that should be only displayed. It's displayed as a single screen for the overhead when you're using that one in the overhead. So you can leave it on or off and play with it and see what you like. But if you're using OpenLP without a second screen, you're going to need that, I believe, checked to make sure that you can work in single screen mode. So that's what that one's important for. So now I am going back here and I'm going to on my laptop and I'm canceling it, and my OpenLP server, I should say. I'm going to the next one, which is we're talking about themes now. So we're going to go back, go to settings, go to configure OpenLP, and we're going to themes. Now I'm going to move you back to the overhead. Here now we have the themes layouts. There's global and default. This would be where you would select. Right now I'm using a default screen. Let me go back to my actual laptop. And here I'm using a default widescreen, and this is what it generally, it's just basically defaults to this if I don't have anything selected anywhere for the theme. Okay, so that's what it would go to on default when you're in the global level. Okay, and this overrides any other themes associated with either the service or the songs. So that sort of locks your whole system to a global level when you use this one. And so I'm going to go back to the overhead. And in the overhead, you see up here, songs. That's the one I suggest you use. And that way, when you're inputting new songs, you can put a theme with that song. And then when you move it to the service, it will automatically use that theme unless you have purposely changed it. If it's at a service level, then you can, inside OpenLP, if you're at the service level, then whatever you put up here in this corner, you would select a theme that you wanted to use for the entire service. But since I'm using song level, I like that better. So I have individual control from each song, and so I can always change it if I want to, but that's the best way to set it up to get started with. And I think you'll like it better that way. Under universal settings, be sure and turn off your transitions between the service items in case you have a slow system or something like this. And just leave both these universal settings to off. Don't check them. Okay? Now, let's see here. Back in the overhead, I didn't miss anything. Song level is recommended. And this is desired. You put a default there where your desired global. And this is where I was said you would leave both of those off. Now, I am going to go back to my laptop, and I'm going to cancel out this one, and I'm going to go to the next one, which is media. Okay, so I'm going to settings, configuration OpenLP, and media. Well, this has been a big change for OpenLP, and I really do love it. Let me go over to the overhead. Whenever you had media in the previous 32-bit version, you needed to install Video LAN or VLC on your computer, and then OpenLP would see that you had installed and would use that to handle your videos and your medias, which would be images and videos. Now, VLC has been built into the new 64-bit version, version 3, and therefore you don't need to do that or have VLC installed on your computer. Only OpenLP, because VLC or Video LAN and its functionality is all built in. So, for media, you can just you can start live items automatically. I don't suggest that. I myself like to control it myself. Uh, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll go back to the computer and see start live items. I'm going to cancel this. So if I have a live item in here, I'll have controls in here which I can start and stop and 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 control when the item starts and when it stops, especially if it's a video. And it's nice to have those types of controls. So I'm going to go back to settings, and I think that pretty well covered media. So I don't know what the extra arguments are for, but everything works, and I haven't had to use that, so you can just leave that one blank. So I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to go to the next thing, and now we're going to talk about projectors. And you're going to find this really interesting too. OpenLP projectors. Okay. So I'm going to go to settings, configuration, OpenLP, and I'm going to projectors. Here we go. Now, I'm going to go to the overhead screen, and you have a communications options up here. You can control the timeout and the poll time. OpenLP, when you run into projectors, any projector that uses, I think it's PJ Link, Ethernet LAN connections can be controlled by OpenLP. I haven't had a need for that. Normally, I hook up OpenLP HDMI output on my computer. I split that HDMI output to multiple areas where it might be going and run it directly to my overhead screens. But the PJ Link is enabled here for broadcasting messages. You can click on there, as you can see right here, and down here it says connect to projector when link up is received in version 2 only. I've never used it. If somebody starts using that, please let me know how. Sort of limited my knowledge on this communication options, so I would suggest, unless you know exactly what you're doing, leave it like I got it right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back over to the computer top, and I'm going to cancel that. And now let's go to the next slide, and we're talking about the remote interface, the new web remote interface. Oh yeah. So I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to configure OpenLP, and I'm going to remote interface. Okay, I'm going to switch over and to the main one, and on overhead. Okay, so when you open this one, these are the first time suggested settings that I suggest. Now, on my computer, even this has changed for me. I've set up a local LAN just for OpenLP Wi-Fi network LAN, internal to my office, as you might say. And I have made my laptop I'm using right now, I've changed it to a server setting of 192.168.0.12, and when I made the wireless LAN, I reserved it or made it a static IP so that my OpenLP always comes up with the same IP. And later on you'll see why that'll be real handy. You need to know that. I don't use the user authentication because this OpenLP network is local to your church only and is normally not hooked to the World Wide Web. It's only interconnected in a network between OpenLP and the computers and devices that handle browsers, actually, because most all of it goes out on a browser. And inside here, what this is right here, only thing you would really change is this IP, and you would get that IP by, we'll show you later on, you would enter a command and do an IP config and check it and see what it's set to, and then when you change that there, it would change all of these. Now, I don't use user authentication. Now, down web remote, you want to make sure that you're using the latest updates. Right now, 0.99 as of this date of this tutorial is the latest one. And so what you would do is you check for newer updates. If there is a new one, it will pop up and show you here the latest version down here when you click on that. And then this will highlight and you click that, and then that'll change to the latest version. And 0.99 is the latest one. So now this is a QDR. If somebody's got an iPhone or an Android, they can scan that QDR and it will give them the URL for the remote, and it will automatically take them to the service mode, and from there they can get to looking at the overhead and controlling the whole system if they wanted to. They could control it by a phone from out sitting down if they wanted to. So it makes it really nice for doing all sorts of things. And this is how the OpenLP gets out to your entire church, like we talked about in the very first one, where the whole community, whether it be the classroom, the nursery, whether it be the security guard, whatever it may be, has full access to OpenLP and the things that are going on. Now, so this one is normal recommended settings that I ask you to put in there, and I think we've just about covered. Right now they're using an HTTP server instead of HTTPS. If you know what secure socket layers are and how HTTPS works, one day this may go HTTPS, but right now it needs a local network of HTTP, and that's easy to set up, and it needs to be isolated from the World Wide Web when you're doing your church service, because you don't want people trying to sneak in and mess up your service. Okay, so we've been through how to do this one. So I'm going to switch back to my computer, and I'm going to cancel that one. And my next one is songs. So we're going to do settings, configure OpenLP, and we're going down here to songs. Now I'm going to switch back to my overhead. Okay, there's my overhead. And we have 4 areas: song related settings, chords, song select login down here, and down here is footer controls. Now, song related settings, you can set it up to enable a go-to verse button and a live panel. That's one I usually leave on, don't use very often. I have chords checked. That's enabled. It enables that if inside my songs, where I type in my songs, I use brackets to insert chords. So in the chords view, the chords are shown with the words, but in the singing view, these brackets keep it out of it, so they're not there. So we can use the same database to do this. If you don't want your chords at all, and you can click on here so that when you're importing songs, the chords don't get moved in with it too. You can, whenever you go to song select on CCLI, if you have a license, you can enter your username and password here. And before I jump there to that one, let me go over here. These are two, I never use these two, and I wouldn't advise you messing with them unless you really know what you're doing, which is the footer section. And I wouldn't mess with the footer section at all unless you know exactly what you're doing. But I am going to take you and show you something about this. So we just got that set up the way we want. And the song settings are right here, and we want English, and we want this. And we don't want that on for sure. So I'm going to go back to my computer. Okay. And you see down here on my computer, I've got this is my username and my login on there. So let me show you how neat this really is when you hit the song select. I'm going to cancel this. I can go to File, Import, and I can say CCLI song select. And it logs in with my sign in. And I can enter a song like Amazing Grace. and do a search, and I can find the one I want, and from here I can download the lyrics and the chords. I can look at the chords, and you can download all the information you want directly into your song database from here, from CCIL. This is really a fantastic feature, and you really need to buy a license for CCIL. Okay, so I think you really enjoy that once you start using it. So I'm going to close that out. Now, what's the next one? Okay, well, the next one is Bibles. So let's go up here to Settings and Configure OpenLP, and let's go to Bibles. Okay, and I'm going to switch to my overhead screen. Okay, I normally have never changed these. I leave the verse displays as shown. I leave the custom scripture references right here as shown. The default Bible language you can change based on what you want. And I don't use the quick search settings. I leave them as they are. And that's what I would suggest you do. I have a lot of different Bibles on mine. And I'll pull a drop down here in just a minute and show you how many I've got. But you can update your Bible listing. And I'm going to shows you to leave it like it is normally no changes. First time settings are shown up there for what you should be using. So I'm going back to my laptop, and I'm going to do cancel. And if I don't want to go off and show you Bible, so I'm going to go to the next one. And now we're going to talk about presentations. PowerPoints used to be a big thing. Well, they're not quite as big as they used to be. So I'm going to select settings, and I'm going to do a Configure OpenLP, and I'm going to Presentation, and I'm going to switch over to my overhead so we can see it easier. Normally, your computer will look at what you have. If I had PowerPoint, Microsoft Office on my computer, I would probably be able to do PowerPoint, but it's not available to me because I don't. I use Impress for my PowerPoint. I love it. I use LibreOffice, and they make fantastic PowerPoints, and I really like them a lot better than I do the PowerPoint that comes with Microsoft. And it no longer will run on the PowerPoint viewer. It used to, but it won't run on that no more. And so all the other settings I leave. Use Impress Slideshow. Okay, I like the way LibreImpress does a slideshow, and I like its settings, so I switched that on myself to make sure it sets it up that way. I like that. So, and that's the way I set these up. So this is suggested first time settings as shown for your presentations. We'll talk about what types of presentations and overheads can be done, but the new Microsoft Keynote is unavailable because I don't have the Microsoft on. And you can run and if I don't have this on, then it's unavailable because it reads your computer to see what you really needs, but it turns them on if you have them, and then you click here to make them available. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my computer, and I'm going to cancel this one, and I'm going to go to, what's my next one? Images. Good. So I'm going to go to Settings, and I'm going to go to Configure, and I'm going to go to Images. Now, in my image background is what we're going to talk about next. Okay, image background, I use blank images, a blank theme, and I can color that black theme white or black when I input there, but I use a blank theme, and you can use a custom theme for your background by selecting it here, wherever it might be, a theme that you have in your themes. And themes are what controls your backgrounds on your songs and your scriptures and just about anything you do. That's a background. So I can have a custom theme for the background, but I don't use that. I just use a blank theme and make my own themes for whatever I'm using. So there's not really much here, so I'm going to go back to my computer, leave those basically as they are. So I'm going back to my computer. I'm going to cancel that one. And we're going to go look at the one for custom slides. So I go up here to settings, OpenLP, I go to custom slides. Now, on custom slides, I display the footer all the time. The footer on the bottom left-hand panel will automatically display the song number from CCLI, your CCLI number that you have that's giving you authority to use that music or you've got, and all that's displayed in the bottom. And this one right here, if you have a custom slide that you've made somewhere else on another OpenLP and maybe at home, because you can take these back and forth on an SDC card or a USB card, and you open a service that you made at home and you open it up here and it has a custom slide, about custom background or custom theme, or a custom slide. Basically, it will automatically import any missing custom slides from the service file when you open the service. So I don't normally do that, so I don't normally select that one. I leave it unselected. So I'm going to go back to the I don't normally use this import missing custom slides. I'm sorry, I should have switched it up there so you'd see what I was talking about. So I don't normally use anything except this. I always display the footer, which I talked about just a second ago. So we're going back to my laptop. Now, I'm going to cancel that one. And I'm going down to the next one, which is alerts. Okay. Now this is pretty cotton picking cute. And I'm going to show you how neat this is. Okay. So first of all, let's do the settings for alerts. So let's go settings. And let's go to configure OpenLP. And let's go to alerts. Now, I'm going to take you to the overhead. And I'll be honest with you. I have not changed these font settings at all, the background settings at all, or any other settings. I leave them as they are. The timeout on the alert is 10 seconds, and it only repeats once. You can change that if you want to. Okay, and so it appears on the screen, it goes across, it takes about 10 seconds to get across the screen. Okay, so that's the way it's normally set up. Now I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to go back over to my computer, and I'm going to cancel this setting, and I'm going to push the F7 key, which opens my alert message, and I'm going to say, hello everyone. Oh, that's not hello. Hello everyone. This is an alert. Now, you can write your own alerts and save them so that the common alerts you have are here, and you just click on them and it automatically helps them. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch you back to the overhead screen now that you've seen what I put in there. And now I'm going to display that alert. And as you can see, the bottom of my screen changes. And you can see that going across right now. Was that not neat? And then after 10 seconds, it goes away. And alert from any of your computers or iPhone devices, all of them that are on the web remote, can send out alerts. So let me close this. So what's next after alerts is the planning center. Well, this is something new that they've added. And so I'm going to go to configure, and if I go to planning center, and I'm going to show my overhead. For larger, I believe this is more for larger churches. They have a planning center where you can log in and make an account, and you can have a new personal ad token and screen, and you can put it out there, planning, and have it online where everybody has access to it. I'm not sure how much it costs. You can go down here to this link. Here, see at the bottom of the screen, and They have flexible and easy to use new features, and they have terms for using these. And OpenLP's been free, so I don't think it would be very expensive to use these. And you could always call them and contact them. I haven't used them, and I don't know how to advise you on using them. So I would suggest you click on, like I say, this link, and go to it and ask them. You may find something in there in the Planning Center so that you can use it no matter where you're at in the world. You can download your services that somebody's helping you prepare from somewhere. That might be a really neat thing. Otherwise, I leave this alone and I don't touch it. So let's go here. I'm going back over to my laptop. I'm canceling it. And we have been through all of the items for OpenLP 102 for Windows 10 and 11 users. Don't blow it up. Here's a good quick checkout to help get a good start on an OpenLP setup. I hope this was useful. I hope you have a great day in the Lord. And may God bless each and every day as you grow in Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen.